Hello, learner. Welcome to Mr. Quickest Teaches. I am Mr. Quickest. In this lesson, I'll be simplifying Elizabeth Smith's poem, Plaits. Now, this is a sample analysis if you're watching it either on YouTube or Facebook or any of my social media handles. For the complete analysis that contains predicted GCSE or IGCSE questions, and also has sample grade 9 and A-star essays, visit www.mrquickestteaches.com and purchase the course. You'll find a link in the description below. Now, furthermore, if you need one-on-one or group lessons for the GCSE for all four components of the prose, poetry, drama, and also for English language, geography, history, and sociology, you can reach me directly at +233 55 398 5533, either on WhatsApp or on Telegram. Or you can also send me an email at mrquickestteaches@gmail.com. Now, I don't only help with the analysis, but I also help with writing as well. So if you need help or guidance on how to write A-star or grade 9 essays, you can reach out to me as well. Let's begin the analysis. Now, the first thing I want to speak about is the poet, Elizabeth Smith. She's from New Plymouth in New Zealand, so she's from New Zealand. She's a poet and then a writer. Now, first collection of poetry, Here Comes the Clouds, was published in 1975. She's quite an accomplished writer. One of the writers, New Zealand poet Harry Ricketts, says that the short poem usually, but not on rhyme, witty, stylish, and intellectual curious. So that's how he describes her strength. Smith's strength. I mean, if you want to know a bit more about her, she has quite a fascinating history. You can do some research about her. Now, that's how the poem Plaits appears in your anthology. It's a 5 stanza poem. I'll speak about that towards the tail end of it, about the structure of the poem. But the poem, in summary, is about this speaker or persona who says that she has two plaits or braids on her head, and then somehow is taught by the varying, almost polar opposite strength and appearance of the plaits. What strength means, what justice means. So she uses the plaits and the way they interact with each other as a metaphor for how the weak and the strong can pull together and pull strength, essentially. So that's what the poem is about. But let me read the poem, Plaits by Elizabeth Smith. I had two plaits, one thick anaconda, and the other more like a thin grass snake. My parting was on one side a harvest, a rich waterfall, a thin trickling river. But they were companionably joined and tied with a wide ribbon whose loops and bows were equal. The weak and the strong were strung together. The raised segments of hair, a wide and thin muscle, a lesson that hung down my neck. So though I could not see justice, I could feel how it was distributed. Now, one of the first things I want you to note is that the poem is narrated in the first person point of view. So that's what opens the poem. So this is not a hearsay, but this is like the poetic voice's experience. Now, this idea of the I, even though it's just a single pronoun, first person pronoun, is important. I'll speak about it towards the tail end of the analysis when I talk about the repetition of it 3 times in the poem. Now, hard signals to the reader that the poetic voice is talking about something in the past or recounting a past event, while the reference to plaits provides vivid visual imagery of the divided plaits or distinct strands of hair that she has on her head. Now, we see the use of a colon quite powerfully, which signals to the reader that the poetic voice is about to provide information about the plaits. So I had 2 plaits, then the colon. So she wants to provide explanation. Now look at the use of the adjective there. So she says one thick. Now the description of the first plate as thick suggests that it had a massive diameter. Then we see the use of metaphor as well, because she continues and characterizes that thick plate as an anaconda plate. Now, anaconda is believed to be the largest snake species in the world, and this is important because it provides the reader the first serpentine is a word for snake, so serpentine imagery, and powerfully communicates the massive size of the first plate that she's speaking about, the first of the two plates. So it tells that the plate has long length, so in terms of its length, it's very long, and it also has an enormous girth as well. Now, we also see the use of simile as well. The simile, the other, more like a thin snake. Now, this expression, even though it's a simile, does not give a definite description of the plate. Instead, it gives what can be described as an approximate, like an approximation, approximate description. Now, this provides the second serpentine imagery. The first is an anaconda. The second is a thin grass snake. So observe I'll speak about it in a bit, but then the juxtaposition of the sizes of the snakes. Now, in terms of the simile, like I've already mentioned, the other, more like a thin snake, the use of the word more emphasizes this point, right? Again, approximation. So when it shows that the speaker is giving what she considers the closest characterization. So it's not a perfect description, but then she wants the reader to at least have like the closest possible understanding of what she means by grass snake. Now, more like a thin grass snake also powerfully communicates the slimness. Anaconda, the enormity or the largeness. Then thin, the slimness of the snake, and suggests that it was so small and camouflaged that it was almost invisible. So it was invisible to the eye, the human eye. You couldn't see it. Now, let's talk about the use of juxtaposition in the first stanza of the poem. Now, observe that the word one and the word the other is juxtaposition. So comparison, she's comparing. So think of juxtaposition as like maybe a more iron word for comparing. Then the word thick and thin, again, a second comparison. So if something is thick and something is thin, again, opposite in terms of sizes. Then anaconda and then grass. So observe that just in the first stanza of the poem, we already see three distinct, word groups. 6 words in total, but three each of the two snakes or plates hair, right? So this plates, one is thick, the other thin. One is an anaconda plate, the other is a grass snake. So the juxtaposition is powerfully communicates the extreme or the opposite sizes of both plates. Furthermore, we also see the use of serpentine imagery as well. This is a key point because the quote, one thick an anaconda and then a thin grass snake, makes dual references to snakes, which powerfully presents the speaker's reiteration of serpentine imagery. So serpentine imagery is quite profound. There is visual imagery, but then here is serpentine imagery. Now, however, unlike in most instances in literature where serpentine imagery usually is used to contrast, has like a negative connotation, here it is used simply for contrast in terms of sizes and strengths. So it doesn't have like that kind of, the size or the power that an anaconda would have in comparison to the grass snake. So there is just a description to juxtapose the sizes, to provide vivid visual imagery for the reader.